If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
All righty.
Mr. Bobby, your camera's not on. Check something up over there.
Yeah, my light is on.
Okay, wiggle a wire. We're not seeing you over here on the screen.
Yeah, I see that.
You can go ahead and open up the show. Try to figure out what's going on with your
okay. Okay. Welcome to the Neely Fuller Jr.'s Counter Racist Code Show. I am Mr. Bobby, but you can't see me right now, and Gate is here. This is Tuesday, April the 22nd, 2025, and we are absolutely delighted to be able to present this show to you. A lot of interesting topics that we will be discussing today, and as you can see or hear, the usual suspects are in play already. I don't know what's going on, but, we'll work it out. We will work it out. Okay, Gabe, what do we have on the schedule today?
Well, welcome again. Thank you, Mr. Bobby, and welcome to the Counter Racist Code Show. This is Mr. Fuller's show. Make no mistake about that. This show was started by Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He was on Talktainment for many years. And then the show went on to Blog Talk for the past 5 years, where Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller were co-hosts. And yours truly, Gate, was in the background. I was the producer of the show. And so Mr. Bobby and I are two people who are really in tune to Mr. Fuller's thoughts, speech, and action, and because we've been very close to him over the years. Today we're going to talk about some interesting things. This show is about... we're still pursuing justice, and we understand Mr. Fuller's definition of justice. But today we're going to talk about the Constitution, and constitutional crisis. What we try to do is take some of the contemporary current events, things that are going on, and run it through the filter of the code. And we answer that important question: what does the code say about it? You see this, you see that, you see people acting crazy, you see things going on, you see people doing this, people doing that. And then you have to ask yourself, well, if you get lost and things aren't making sense, then we have a resource to go back to, and that is called the United Independent Compensatory Code Book. Mr. Fuller wrote 3 books. He wrote the original book back in 1984. And then let me get Mr. Bobby back on the stage here. There you go, brother. We can see you now, man. We see you.
Yeah, there you go.
So Mr. Fuller wrote the original book back in 1984. Then he wrote a word guide in 2010. Then he wrote his expanded, revised version of the original book in 2016. So today we're going to talk about the Constitution. We're going to talk about just have a conversation. We like interaction with you, our listeners and our followers. So what we try to do here, and maybe, blame it up to the fact that I'm a professor. I teach. I'm used to books. I like to take books and break them apart and try to apply them to contemporary situations. And I'm also I'm kind of analytical. And so I looked at the code from various angles. And when I see these things come up in the news, I see these current challenges pop up. I said, well, look, let's just do this. Let's run it through the code. So we're not here to to replace Mr. Fuller, but what we're here to do is to, and what I've discovered, and you're talking to somebody who's been a professor for over 20, 25 years, the code book is on solid foundation. It's on solid footing. And so what I try to do is help break it down so that we can understand it and apply it. I mean, it's one thing to read it, but what good is having a code if you're not going to apply it? So that's what I try to do, is to help people, one, introduce people, initiate people who have not heard about the code book and Mr. Fuller, help them find out about it, help to translate what it is, and then help to then we do a call to action. Let's go ahead and start applying some of this information to our everyday lives. So I'm glad to be here. And Mr. Bobby, we are going to also later in the show, we're going to bring up an actual passage from Mr. Fuller as he talks about the Constitution. And I'll give you my take on the Constitution and the crisis in a few moments. Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir. Now, don't forget that you can get the books and materials going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com, and all of it is up there. You can also stream the show on producejustice.com. And what are the other two, Gate, the Facebook and YouTube? Can you give out those addresses?
Yes, sir. We probably get most of our followers and listeners by going to YouTube, and that's just simply at Produce Justice. So go to YouTube, just go to at Produce Justice. You'll find the past shows that we've done. This will be our sixth show today. Mr. Bobby and I have done. But you can also find shows from Mr. Fuller, some of the complete shows from Mr. Fuller. You can also get it at Produce Justice Neely Fuller Jr. on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you're not on social media and just want to go out here and get it the old-fashioned way, go to the website. Just go to producejustice.com and scroll down you'll see, as soon as you get on the homepage, you'll see the show right there you'll see 3 books up there at top. Just scroll down just a little bit and you'll see the show streaming live on the homepage of producejustice.com.
Yes, sir. Okay. So we're going to get some, and we're also going to try to get some of your comments on there. I've been tasked with reading some of those comments. This is from WK2FM Radio, saying good day to Mr. Bobby, me, and Gate, and greetings, good brothers, always learning, and let's go to work. All right. So let's go to work.
In goes he. And then we have Produce. Yeah, that's my man, Produce Justice.
Yeah, Deuce Justice. Yeah.
Like that spelling. You know what, Mr. Bobby? Let's think about this Constitution thing for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
We're hearing terms like people kicking around terms like constitutional crisis. I've heard that term more recently than I've ever heard in my entire life. And you're talking about somebody who studied. I actually have a degree in political science. That's my background. I also studied pre-law. And for the past few years, I've been a business developer, helping companies grow their business and start businesses. But I keep hearing this term kicked around about constitutional crisis. And that's why I thought it was very fitting today that we're going to talk about the Constitution, and we're going to talk about constitutional crisis. So bear with me for a minute as I give you Gates' take. Let me take you to school for a minute. If I don't put you to sleep. But Mr. Fuller, I'm going to start out by saying the Constitution. Just take the Constitution in itself. I'm going to start out by going out on a limb here, saying everything I say now, of course, this is my own interpretation. So don't beat me up. Let's chalk it up to VGQ. If you're opposed to justice, it's not a stretch to argue that you are in defiance of the Constitution as well. Because the United Independent Compensatory Code Book is grounded in the Constitution. I'm going to repeat that. The Code Book is actually grounded in the Constitution because the Constitution, it addresses issues, including, clearly it states, justice for all. Okay? It addresses the issue of justice. Now, in the preamble, it begins, the Constitution starts with the preamble. That's the first few words of the Constitution. It clearly states that the purpose includes establishing justice. That's not me talking. That's not even Mr. Fuller talking. That's the Constitution's talking. That's in the preamble itself. And it sets the foundation for a government to promote fairness and accountability. We're talking about the Constitution today. We're not talking about something that I made up or Mr. Fuller made up. So when you start talking, you hear these people talking about, I don't like the Constitution. They're bashing the Constitution. We have these constitutional crises. Let's go back and look at the Constitution. These founding fathers, they were hypocrites, but they laid down a document that clearly established justice as one of their purposes. Then we had the Bill of Rights. These are the first 10 articles of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. The first amendment was the guarantee of free speech, free religion, and assembly. These are guarantees. Then we had the Fourth Amendment. We're talking about how the Constitution was grounded on justice. It protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's the Fourth Amendment. Then we had the Fifth Amendment, which ensures due process of the law and protects against self-incrimination and double jeopardy. Then we had the Sixth Amendment, which guarantees the right to a fair and speedy trial, an impartial jury, and legal counsel. Then we had the Eighth Amendment. Now we're talking about the Constitution and how one of its purposes was the justice, and why Mr. Fuller talked about the Constitution quite often. And matter of fact, later in the show, we're going to actually hear his words as he talks about the Constitution. Then we had the Eighth Amendment, which prohibits excessive bail, cruel and unusual punishment. Then we had the Equal Clause in the Constitution. Now, it was not part of the Bill of Rights, but the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, included equal protection, which mandates that no state shall deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Also in the Constitution, we had a justice system designed to uphold justice. We're talking about the Constitution today and how it is embedded into the code by providing a mechanism for individuals seeking remedies to protect their rights. And then, of course, we also had checks and balances. It sets up a system to check the balances among the three branches of government. So where did this constitutional crisis comes in? That occurs when a significant conflict or breakdown in the functioning of a government's constitutional framework. When this happens, here's some examples. When you have authority disputes, different branches of government, the executive, legislative, or judicial, clash over their responsibilities or their powers. That's when you have a constitutional crisis. When you have unresolved questions that may not have been addressed in the Constitution, maybe they're ambiguous and not clear, that can cause a crisis. Or you have a refusal to comply. One of the branches simply refused to comply with the decisions or authority of another branch, undermining the law. Now, all of this to say, when you start hearing people bash the Constitution, and I know this government has all kinds of problems. I mean, it has not been our friend for the most part. But the original intent of the founders was to have justice for all. Now, when you have people today, politicians, institutions, that are clearly stating by their actions and their deeds that they are in defiance of the Constitution, I say, look at Mr. Fuller's words. When you don't understand racism, white supremacy, and how it works, everything that you do understand or thought you understand will only confuse you. So look at this. Just be prepared in the coming days that you're going to see continuing constitutional crises, and they are going to center around justice. The entire Constitution was not built around justice, but one of its purposes, go back and read the preamble. One of the purposes in the first paragraph was to establish justice. So when people start talking about, I'm against the Constitution, I'm breaking down the Constitution, it's not a far stretch, in my opinion, that they are also attacking justice. And that's why today we're going to bring you the actual words of Mr. Fuller as he talks about the Constitution and how closely related the Constitution is to his code book. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. If you have any comments on what Gate has said, you can contact me on my Gmail account. That is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Be happy to have that, to have you do that. That is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. And hopefully I'll get a chance to read that. Okay. Speaking about that, Gate, do you have Fuller's words all queued up yet?
Yes, sir. In a few minutes, yes, we do. We got them all queued up.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, produce justice. He said the 13th Amendment. Of course, we can't forget the 13th Amendment. That's the one that abolishes slavery. What do you think, produce justice? Give us your take on it. You can go ahead and type your message in the chat. And also, like I said, as this show progresses, we're going to be bringing more ways to get you involved in the show and to make it more engaging. So,
yes.
So send your notes to Mr. Bobby, and we'll get together and we'll bring the ones that we find particularly engaging. We will actually bring onto the screen, and you'll sit right up with us and share that information.
That's right. Because what happens is, Gate, is that the people are going to be so involved that they will help shape this show into what it is going to be. So we are still evolving.
We are still evolving. All right. Let's see here. Now, Mr. Bobby, did you want to do your piece before I get to Mr. Fuller's Constitution?
You know what? Yeah, wait a minute, because I got it off of the screen. But
okay, well, that's okay.
Yeah. Let me do this.
I did. Go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do, I was looking at, Mr. Fuller has this. He has this movie list.
Yeah. And
if you haven't already seen it, go to producejustice.com, and you'll see some of Mr. Fuller's movies. Some of the movies that he suggests the reading. And he said, don't just look at movies for entertainment's sake. Look at these movies for messages. Now, of course, I'm a movie buff myself, and I'm also a history buff. So last night, and I think the night before that, and the night before that, I've been watching this movie, Saving Private Ryan. Man, I tell you, there's not a war movie out there that I haven't seen. And I watch them several times. Sometimes I watch the same movie back to back. So I was watching the movie Private Ryan. What I like to do when I watch these movies, Mr. Bobby, I look for historical inaccuracies, particularly on these war movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be picking them apart, boy. And Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan is a very good movie. It's about, of course, this lady. She lost. She had like 4 sons, and she'd already lost 3 of them in the war. So they send out this brigade or battalion, whatever you want to call it, out to go find this guy, Private James Ryan, so that the mother doesn't have 4 kids died in the war. Now it's like a fictional movie, but based on a real life story. But there were certain inaccuracies that you might challenge, and just the movie itself, just the whole premise of the movie, to send out all these folks to find one guy. I mean, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and not to mention the amount of life and treasure that was expended to go out and find this guy. So that's really unlikely. That's the first historical inaccuracy. Then, of course, the landing on Omaha Beach, the German defenses, and it was kind of exaggerated for dramatic effect. I mean, them guy behind the machine gun, that's just mowing people down. Yeah, that was some accuracy, but it was spread out over a much larger area. It wasn't concentrated quite like that. Of course, some of the weaponry is not accurate. This M1 rifle they carry, but it was not always very accurate in the display and how it was shown during the movie. The medical treatment, it seemed very organized, but in the fog of war, is rarely that accurate. It's just mayhem. Even the captain that was leading them, that the age difference, and most of the average age of the person in the war was in their 20s. Had this guy in his 50s out there leading this group of people around the battlefield. So there were just certain things. Even that little craft that bring them onto the beach, that was not an accurate depiction of that craft. I think the one they were using, the one on the film, was one they used in Britain, but not the one they used on Omaha Beach. But anyway, I suggest if you're a war buff or a history buff or a movie buff, go check out the Mr. Fuller's movie list. Go to producejustice.com. And also, while you're there, you can check out the books. We have several books there. It's 3 books, and the books have been really jumping off the shelf. All the books in, falling a little behind. We've been bombarded, so they're all going out, but we may have missed a couple of deadlines. But just if you haven't gotten your book already, hang in there. They're on the way. I talked to distribution yesterday, and they said we have a lot of books going out. So thank you again for supporting you support the mission of the show by buying Mr. Fuller's books.
That's
right. Notice one thing you probably haven't noticed, you probably will not notice. We're not on here collecting money. We don't have things scrolling around the bottom of the screen, cash apps and all that. And I'm not knocking people to do that, but that's not how Mr. Fuller rolled.
No.
Many times I talked to Mr. Fuller through Mark and through Mr. Bobby, anybody who listened to his show. You support Mr. Fuller by buying his works. You support this show by buying his works. Produce Justice foots the bill of this show. We don't get it through contributions. We're not locking the doors and telling people we got 1,000 people online and everybody give 20. We're not doing any of that. This show, you support Mr. Fuller, you support the show, you keep your legacy alive by buying his books and going out here and producing justice. I mean, it's that simple. That's the way it is right now. Right. I mean, nothing's permanent, but okay. What do I see it right now? And that's why I'm involved.
Okay. All righty. Let's go here. Topographers, what they do. Anyway, they make maps and stuff. Okay. And I bring that up. This concept, and I would like for people to understand that what we call the African continent, that wasn't the real name of it, but that's another story. But anyway, it doesn't mean a great deal to most people who believe in the global narrative set by the cabal. But there is a nefarious reason why topographers on the global map made the continent of Africa as small than what it really is. But the truth is that, is that the African continent is so large, Gate, that most of the land masses of the entire world could fit in it with room to spare. If you look at the way that the continent, and if you look at the way the continents are cut up, it resembles a puzzle with the pieces aligned to fit together. As small proof, look at the major countries that are taking the natural resources from Africa, in particular China. China is heavily invested in taking the natural resources from Africa. And as further proof, that statement, research that statement, what happened in the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885. Excuse me. I bring that up because it's also referred to as the Congo Conference. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Gate, but that year, 14 countries got together and divided the African continent up into what you. There's a good reason why. Um, and it was under a general by the name of Bismarck. And he was German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. Now, I have no proof of this, but it could be suggested that the old empire, which is now modern day Turkey, may have had some divided up and presented to the whole world. Now, think about this. Most of the continents of the world fitting into what they make Africa look so small. East to west, you take this country, east to west is 3,000 miles. Africa continent is much larger than that. If you go north to south in the African continent, you could get, like I said, almost all the countries of the world, including China, Russia. You know how big they are, Canada. All those countries could fit in to what we now call Africa. Now, as to why they did that way on a global map or on a sphere, I don't know why. I think there might be a nefarious reason why they did that. But look that up and see how far or how large the African continent is. Even South Africa, what did they take out of there? What? The De Beers brothers, diamonds, blood diamonds. Look at all the resources that go into computers. I think it's, and I might be wrong about this, but cobalt, all those things are from the African countries or so-called African countries, whatever the real name is, original name was. But that's how large it is. And then look what they did to us, destroyed us, enslaved us. We speak a language that's not even ours, Gate. We have been so indoctrinated with their language or their scheme. And what Fuller tried to do was make us aware.
That's right.
Of what was going on. But we have turned that into what? Killing ourselves and joining what this world has to offer, which is not good. This is why it's important that people get the books that Mr. Fuller has at producejustice.com and study the books and tell the stories over and over and over. And I know I try to find different things to expose the lies and things that we have been told and indoctrinated. You spoke about the church a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever noticed in a lot of churches there's a so-called Christian flag in there? You know, along with the American flag. That was put in there because that actually promoted the narrative that these so-called founding fathers wanted, which was nothing more than white supremacy. And if they didn't do that, well, they would remove the pastor, you know, from the church. And I often wondered about that. Why is this flag there? And why is the American flag here? See, there's so many things and so many stories. And we have to tell the stories so that we are educated into what this enemy has done to us and how we must be truthful in dismantling and replacing the white supremacy with justice.
Mr. Bobby?
Yes, sir.
You are so right. And it is, I mean, I go out on the limb here with you. It's no coincidence that when we see the pictures of Africa, I know when I was growing up, I thought Africa and the United States, matter of fact, the map, all the maps I looked at, like the United States was bigger than Africa.
Yes.
But it's not, it's based on this centering on whiteness and supremacy and bigger, better. And when you look at the first thing you have to do, Mr. Bobby, to control these people, you have to control their minds and their thought process.
That's right.
And you have to keep making them believe that they are inferior and less than, so that you can control them.
That's right.
And so that's why when you see these dictatorial governments, like the Third Reich and people like that, the first thing they did, they go out and hire like a communication specialist, like Goebbels. He was one of the first people that Hitler hired because he had to control the narrative and control the way people think. Unfortunately, we're seeing some of those same things creeping into what we're experiencing here in the United States. control the media, control the minds, control the masses. If you control people's minds and how they think and how they see things, you can control them much better. So that's why you have this attack on the institutions, educational institutions, on the media, the Constitution. And this is not coincidental. And the same thought processes that gave us these little tiny images of the continent of Africa are at work today, right here before our eyes.
Right now, I think Fuller referred to it as a refinement of what they get better and more proficient at enslaving us. They refine that. Excuse me. They refine their approach, and if you get out of line, then they will you.
That's right. That's right. Got comments coming in.
Do you have Fuller's voice yet?
Yes, sir. About to cue him up right now. We got a couple of folks making comments. Appreciate your feedback.
Look what Stephanie Clark said. We have been told definitely live. Well, how about this one? The United, WK2 FM radio says the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept helps save lives. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Now, the next voice you hear will be that of the venerable, esteemed Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. as he talks about the Constitution and why I felt it was pertinent to bring to talk about the Constitution Day, because we're hearing all this talk about people trying to dismantle it. They're trying to work around it. We see constitutional crises hanging in the balance. Let's find out what Mr. Fuller's take is on this right after this quick message. This is the this is the Counter Racist Code Show. I'm Gate. I'm here with Mr. Bobby. So hang on a second. We'll be right back with you right after this moment. So hang in there.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time. What's on my mind is the Constitution of the United States. And I would like to mention that within the context of what's on my mind. And the first thing I want to mention about it is that it's a part of the code that I have written, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, because I was reading the preamble and have been for some time now, for the last 3 or 4 years, with a lot of emphasis on it to myself. And the main thing is the amendments, particularly the 14th, the 5th, and the 13th, and the 14th, but my focus has been what is called the preamble, sort of like an introduction. I think that's what preamble means. And the preamble, and I'm looking at it right now and reading from it, of the Constitution of the United States is as follows: we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Perfect union, justice, domestic tranquility, common defense, general welfare, and the blessings of liberty. That's what this Constitution of the United States is for. For whom? We, the people of the United States. That's been what's on my mind. And I'm saying, the code, the compensatory code, contend with that. You don't. You incorporate it because it's self-incorporated. It's about, and here's the key, this is what's on my mind, this Constitution is to establish justice. That's saying a whole mouthful right there. That's a whole book right there on that one thing. That's what this Constitution of the United States of America is for. It's to establish justice. The name of this podcast here, right now, that we're on, the goal is to do what? Produce justice. That's the name of this podcast. So there is no conflict between the United States of America and the purpose of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. And that's what I've been thinking about. And I'm asking everybody to use the textbook for victims of white supremacy, which is with the goal of producing a product called justice, and use the Constitution of the United States of America for the same purpose, because it says in the preamble, what is this Constitution for? That's what the announcement is about. They're explaining it to you. And they say the first order is a more perfect union. And that union is supposed to do what? The first order of business, establish justice. The name of this podcast right now that you're on is producejustice.com. There's evidence of that. That's what it's been called ever since it began. So we're right on the same page according to compensatory logic, which is what we're supposed to be doing in trying to produce this thing called justice.
Now, Mr. Bob, you have to admit this may be surprising to many that Mr. Fuller, 95-year-old gentleman, when he passed away on February 1st of this year, who's been in the trenches of justice warrior, justice educator, wrote the counter-racist code, wrote these 3 books. It surprises many that he would actually be defending or actually saying that the code and the United States Constitution are so closely aligned. That is, but many people have trouble wrapping their brains around that. But it also speaks to the fact that many things that the racist and white supremacists do, they coat things to make them palatable and digestible. It's almost like I have my right hand over here. Watch with my right hand, but I'm doing something else over here with my left hand. And that has been embedded in the history of this country. The Constitution lays it out. It clearly states it is for the establishment of justice, so much so that Mr. Fuller said it was embedded in code. So what we have to do is to hold people accountable. That's where we get into constructive action. Dr. King said it in many of his speeches. Live up to your creed. You put it down there. Why are you not living up to your creed? Because that's part of the confusion. That's part of the subterfuge. They have no intent to. Sometimes that's the way we look at religion. We talked about religion a week or 2 ago. It's all laid out there. Mm-hmm. You got 10 commandments. You got Noah getting on the ark. You got all the Daniel in the lion den. All this stuff is laid out here. But are the people who brought it to you, are they living up to it? Do they ever intend to? Is that part of the subterfuge? Is that part of the confusion? Is that part of what Mr. Fuller said? If you don't understand it, everything that you do understand will only confuse you. So Mr. Fuller was clear. Mm-hmm. He had no problem with the Constitution. Matter of fact, he said the Constitution is code.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Interesting, to say the least. Oh, okay. How about this, Gate? Black Tony wants to what Mr. Fuller talked about the white man's anus as the new vagina.
Okay.
And Fuller talked about that. Now, what I want you to do is, since you have Fuller's tapes on that, maybe you can get together on that and then give us the words on that. But I remember Mr. Fuller, when we did the show, he talked about that, and that was one of our most, I won't say heated show, but we got a lot of calls on that because a lot of people didn't understand it. But Fuller was clear on giving the examples of how that is, even up to what we see now that's going on. You don't know if a person is a man or a woman anymore and all that kind of stuff. So when you do your thing next week, if you can, get those tapes or get those sayings that Mr. Fuller had to say about the white man's anus. Thank you, Black Tony.
Well,
and then,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. And then Mac Tips. Oh, way to go, Mac. Mac Tips. Yeah.
Well, I would say this, that the topic you just mentioned about go back and look at the 9 areas of activity. And Mr. Fuller has made it plain and clear that one of the objectives of the racists is to cause confusion in all 9 areas.
Yeah.
And sex happened to be one of those 9 areas of activity.
Exactly.
And that has caused probably the most confusion of all. And the one that seems to be, like I said, whenever you bring it up, the phones light up. And that's a sign right there. That's an indicator.
That's a sign right there.
Of how much
go ahead. Yeah, which reminds me of this. There's been a lot of controversy in the news about transgender people playing, for example, women's sports. What is your take on that, Gate? Should
Well,
transgender uh, person be allowed to participate in a woman's sports?
I think that once again, I think this topic has been brought up to cause confusion. I
Yeah.
mean, my personal opinion, I find it seems a little unfair to me if you have a somebody who was superior, have a different body type running against people of a different body type. Now, this was used very effectively during the past election, and some say that could have been the tipping point during the final days of the 2024 election. That the on these different talk shows, you had people like Charlemagne the God, and they took some of their sound bites, and then in the 11th hour, the Trump campaign did a carpet bombing with that particular topic, and they made it look like Kamala Harris was actually out there dragging men athletes onto the field to run against young girls. Now, of course, whenever you get something from the racist and white supremacists, you have to always look through the filter, look through the lens. What are the objectives, and is it being used to cause confusion? So what I think is almost irrelevant, but what I do feel that this issue has been used as a tool to further divide, and it has been very effective toward that end.
Yeah, absolutely, it has.
So we're actually gonna tackle that topic and many topics. As a matter of fact, we look at the when you go to the website for all of the newbies, people who are coming into the for the first time, go back, and if you don't read the entire book, you can just go to the website and look at the 9 areas of activity.
Yeah, comment from J.R. Lawson says, greetings, apology for my tardiness. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that, Lawson. You're there. You are you're learning as we are, as Mr. Fuller would say, still learning. And you're going to hear that because this is about the work of Mr. Neely Fuller and the different things that he had to say. Mac Tip, much respect to you, Mr. Bobby, and thank you for all you. Okay, and don't forget Gate in that now, because we're trying to make sure that that his work goes on. Stephanie Clark says this, Gate, the black man can't be a man. Some have no income, so they end up selling their body. Speaking about, that other alternative lifestyle. And this is what the racists want to do. They want to sow confusion among us, teach us, and have taught us how to hate ourselves, which is terrible. But what did Mr. Fuller say? Still learning, and we use that because we want to make sure that we keep the legacy alive. Sat7 says, study, learn, and understand what an American is. He had that in quotes. And what an America is not. Do not call any person American. He has that in quotations, unless he or she practices justice and correctness at all times in all places. Way to go, Sat7.
Yeah, well, he's co-signing on Mr. Fuller.
Yeah,
and why he has been he spent all this time, and the quotes we read from Mr. Fuller today, we played from Mr. Fuller today, was not the first time he has addressed the Constitution. Mr. Fuller says the Constitution is code, and what Sec 7 is actually saying, he's validating and adding another voice to what Mr. Fuller has said. So if you, and I'm going to say this again, when you listen to people and they are trashing the Constitution, I know some people sat back and said, well, shoot, this country has nothing worth upholding. Go back and read the Constitution. I got a little book for one of the holidays recently, and it was a Constitution. I said, wow, I just never really had my own copy of it. And so I looked at it last night as I was preparing for this show. And I went back and listened to Mr. Fuller's words. And the Constitution That's a pretty good piece of work if people just followed it. That's why Mr. Fuller said, hey, the code is embedded into the Constitution and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, Site 7, you're exactly right. Mac Tip, thank you, brother. Look, we're just glad to be here. I know some of you guys have heard Mr. Bobby for the past 5 years. I've been the guy in the background behind the scenes, so I'm not offended. I don't have a glass jaw if you don't remember me or even know who I am. But hopefully, as time progresses, we'll all get on here and learn together. And I really appreciate the love.
Here's one. He says, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, he has that in capital letters, ensure domestic tranquility, he has that in capital letters, provide for the common defense, he has that in capital letters, promote the general welfare and secure. Such is all right. J.R. Lawson, Steve Coakley could emphasize the Constitution. And he's right. He's right. And Steve Coakley also wrote, what was that book that Steve Coakley wrote? Something between the lines. I forgot the name of that book. Somebody get that for me right quick. With Steve Coakley. Yeah, go ahead. I'll look that up right quick.
Okay, well, Gerald Lawson also said the Constitution was written by rich white men for rich white businessmen. It doesn't benefit the non-colored people.
What does Steve Coakley say?
Well, I would say that for the most part, JR, I'm in total agreement. I would look at it this way. It was written as a tool, definitely not to benefit non-white people or non-white men. I mean, it wasn't even written to benefit white women. It was written for landowners, white landowners, male. But what they didn't realize that one day non-white people might have some semblance of power, and that the playing field, even though it's far from being level, is much less rocky than it was. And so now this Constitution that they wrote when people were in bondage and were non-threatening and by any stretch of the imagination, now they've got to go back and trash it and redo it and look at things differently. Because as flawed as it was, it now gives an opening for people who are seeking justice. That's why you're seeing this campaign now to trash the Constitution, to rewrite it, to say it's not valid, and why we now are in what we might call a constitutional crisis. Stephanie said she's been told so many lies, the truth sounds like a sci-fi movie. Stephanie, tell me about it.
Here's a Gmail here. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, Miss Bobby.
Okay. From a Gmail here. Greetings, Mr. Bobby and Gate. I recently learned from watching an interview with actor Terrence Howard that Africa's original name is Alkebulan. That's the word I was trying this morning. Africa also spelled Africa with a K instead of an E. Thank you, Jane Lance, our loyal people. She always has something, very good to say. Here's something from Breeze Connection. Read the religiousness of the Negro in America. That's Breeze Connection. And he mentioned, by the way, Gate, that he wanted to be on the program. So we might want to get him in there. Brother Tariq, Breeze Connections.
Okay.
Breeze Connections, LLC. Yeah.
Get his information. Get him. Tell him we need his email address, and we'll send him the link and get him on the air with us.
You hear that, Breeze? Tariq, he's from the Yo in Ohio. It's called Youngstown.
Let me put this out here again. As this show evolves. Now, Mr. Bobby, like I said, we're doing our best to keep you guys informed, entertained. We're giving you our thought, our speech, and then trying to encourage you to go out here and act. But we want to hear from you. So we're working this part out. what we're trying not to do, we can't just open up the gates to everybody, because we know that's just going to give the usual suspects all the ammunition they need to get in here and destroy the show. So what we're trying to do is people that we're doing like a screening process. And so send your comments and notes to Mr. Bobby. You can also send it to contact@Produce Justice. And we will invite some of you, instead of reading your comments on the air, we're going to bring you on the air and let you read them yourself. So go ahead and get your camera tuned up, make sure your microphone is right. We'll send you the link. The link will give you the instructions. It's pretty simple. And we're going to have a discussion right here on this screen. And this show is about to blow up. This show is about to blow up. The engagement has been phenomenal. And now when we start getting people on here, and let me give a quick some other things that are coming down the pipe. And why this is the show. If you are a follower of Mr. Fuller, first of all, this is his show, his podcast, one that has his name on it. This is not somebody here pretending or just trying to talk about Mr. Fuller. And I have much regard for people who are doing that, who are trying to keep the legacy alive as well. But this is the official show for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. It's produced and brought to you by his organization, Produce Justice. You heard him saying during his monologue a few minutes ago. The name of the show is the Produce Justice Counter Racist Code Show. So what I talked with Mr. Fuller's son yesterday. We had a meeting over in my office, and he had some footage that has never been seen of Mr. Fuller, Dr. Francis.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking about hours and hours of footage. We're going to start embedding that into the show. Folks, let me tell you, Mr. Fuller's legacy is not going to die. I don't mean a year from now, 5 years. I mean ever. And if I have my way about it, and I've committed myself to this, like I said, this is not my full-time job. Okay, I'm actually a professor. I have a business where I help companies grow in digital marketing and so forth. But I have been producing Mr. Fuller's show for the past 5 years, and I've been listening. I listened to every show for the past 5 years except one, and that's because I went to my mom's funeral. So I'm committed to this. And I'm just saying, hang on to your hat, people. This show is going to blow up for good. So we're going to keep the objective in mind, to produce justice. And for that, tell us again, Mr. Bobby, what Mr. Fuller's definition of justice?
That everybody be treated equally, and that those that need the most help get the most constructive help. Yeah, got to put that in there. Constructive help.
Don't mistreat anybody. Guaranteeing. So we just wanted to make sure we understand the purpose of the show, and that we'll be back actually next week to continue on that mission. And so if we thought things starting out a little slow, yes, we are feeling our way. This is our fifth.
Sixth show.
Sixth show. Considering this is only our sixth show, I don't think we're doing too bad, but just hang on to your hat. Things are going to get better.
Yeah.
And we start integrating some of Mr. Fuller's video and invoking you into the show.
All right. And don't forget, you got to look up what Mr. Fuller said about the white man's anus being the new vagina. You got to look that up so that we can discuss that next week also.
Get ready for some fireworks.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
I know the first time I heard that show with the Bible, I was like, whoa. But I must say, it caught me off guard. I was like, whoa.
But it really helped usher in what we have now, which is confusion. Yeah.
True that.
But we're still learning. So thank God, Mr. Fuller. Yes.
All right, guys. That's
all right.
Last words, Mr. Bobby.
ProduceJustice.com.
All right, folks. Thank you. Got a few more. Take us out with a few more comments as we lead out of here.
Still Learning says, not on my watch, codified for life. Who taught you to hate yourself? Breeze Connection. Malcolm said that, remember? Oh, yeah. And the religious instruction of the Negro, beware of the word help. When someone uses the word, ask, what do you mean? And what do you mean? All the way. Asking questions.
Asking questions. All right.
Fuller said that asking questions. You want to know why? Why?
All right. Well, that's
All
going to
right.
wrap it up today, Mr. Bobby. I will see you next Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing all of
Okay.
you. Thank you for the engagement. It's been an exciting show, folks. It's only going to get better. Just hang on, hanging there with us as we navigate these waters. We're still learning. And on that note, we will see you next week right here on the Counter Racist Code Show by Produce Justice.
.com. All righty.
Let me get us out of here. Let me get us out of here.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time.